Is this thing on? I think I think it's on. I think we're live. What's up, man?
We are live for the first time in 2 weeks.
Months. Feels like
If
months.
it feels like forever, a little out of practice right now, but it's good to be back.
Yeah, and of course we had to begin with me having some new audio problems that was throwing us off, and I had to like run all over trying to figure out what was going on. Let's see. I don't remember. Is this better? Yeah, that's better. I got to fix the lighting in here. I got to get a light, but
Yeah,
hopefully
I
this is
have to.
better.
I'm right next to a tank, so I have to turn the tank lights off
Yeah.
because it just casts this weird, kind of light to the side. And it stinks because I want to look at the tank while I'm sitting here. But it's okay.
that's why that's why I
But
put a camera on my tank so we can look at it while we're talking.
I need to next
Just a
time
thought.
I might end up doing that, but it is good to be back. We've got some people in the chat already. Looks like we got Lady R, Keeping Aquatics, Liquid Rock Aquatics, TJ Autocross, Sean Simic, Bunny Viper, welcome, welcome. The Zen Ginger, our wonderful moderator, thank you for everything you do. She's saying that audio and video are good. At
Cool.
least we can do that for now. Um, Not going to promise we'll stay up the entire time, but we will try.
Well,
Skull
this
Aquatics.
live stream will stay up whether or not we do.
Skull Aquatics. Master Aquatics. Eduardo, good to see you. Let's see here. Nancy B in Tennessee. I hope that your rainbow shiners are doing well.
Ooh, rainbow
Stephen
shiners.
Stephen P saying this topic hits home literally. I think I was just looking. I haven't got a chance to watch it yet, but you did a live stream maybe a week ago, several days ago, concerning how messy your fish room is, or people's fish rooms in general was the topic. Definitely relate to that.
Yeah,
But
I think everybody on FishTube, especially those of us in the fish fam, not especially, everybody in the hobby could relate to this, and it's something we all deal with. We all have trouble uh, keeping everything organized.
oh yeah, and it looks like TJ Autocross is saying I don't have a fish room, which means my stuff is in multiple rooms of the house. I agree with that. I wouldn't say I have a fish room. I more
Mhm.
so have a fish home.
Yes.
Because I
Yeah.
have tanks in all rooms. Well, of the three rooms that I have. But yes, so I've got stuff everywhere.
Yeah, I was going to jump in to YouTube just briefly because I thought I saw one other person. Let me find it here. I thought I saw one other person who was in the chat before. Oh, it's gone. So there was somebody in here earlier, but that's gone from the chat. They had posted that they were first. Maybe that was on the old one, the one from several weeks ago, where we were going to try to cover this topic before. Let's see. What's Zen talking about? I'll let Mitch decide on that one. I missed that.
I'm not I'm not sure, but yeah, it looks like Stephen P showed their fish room before and after it was cleaned out. I should have done that. I did some organizing. It's still not like you say. It's always going to be a work in progress. I'm closer, but not quite there. And I do. While you're in the chat, I want to say I have started watching more of your videos, and I you do an incredible job with your videos. So I just want to
Yep.
say that real quick. I've really enjoyed watching the ones that I've gotten to.
Yeah, when I was doing research for the algae topic, when we did Algae Happens, I kept coming across Stephen P's videos. So I learned a lot from you. And
Mhm.
I'd watched videos before too, but in the last few months, I've been watching more, and I still, even though I'm doing YouTube myself, I still not doing great at going. Like I listen more so than watch, and it's while I'm driving to work, or sometimes while I'm at work or on a walk or something, and then I don't get in and make that comment. Um, and I need to do better at that. Those comments are important to us on YouTube. It tells YouTube that people are engaging with the content.
Mhm.
And so I need to do that more. And I feel like I always feel bad because I'm like, hey, I love your stuff. I just never comment.
Yeah, I agree. I'm more of the lurker type to where I just, I'll pull it up. I'll be eating lunch at work and watch a video, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then I'm like, I never interacted with it at all. And I feel bad because I love so many people, so many different
Yeah.
creators' content. I'm like, I should probably help try and, support them a little more. But
Yeah.
um,
And I'm one of those pre-likers. If your thumbnail and your title was enough for me to click on it, I'll give you a like. And as long as you don't go somewhere that I don't want to go during the video, you get to keep it. So you don't have to earn the like from me beyond the click. You get the click, you get the like, but you don't want to lose it. So that's my philosophy on YouTube. I know that that thumbnail and that title is a big deal. So when something grabs me that I wouldn't normally, most people that I'm watching anyway, I'm going to hit like. Um, but on someone that I don't normally watch or listen to, that's how I do it.
looks like we've got a couple more people that have joined. George RB3, welcome. And one more I think I saw. Atkins Nature Aquariums and Jerome. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, welcome.
I'm seeing a lot of I was actually on Scotty the Fish Freaks live stream this past Saturday, and I'm seeing a lot of the same faces, which is awesome.
Wait, you
So
you were on it or you were in the chat?
I was he had me on. Him
No
and
way. How did I not know that?
yes. I I honestly had forgotten to tell you because he Scotty had asked me probably a month or so ago,
Yeah,
and honestly I put it on my calendar and forgot about it till the day of, and I was
yeah.
like, oh, I've got that live stream today. But it went well. We actually talked about local clubs, which was cool.
Yeah,
He did a little interview of how the Music City Club is going, so that was fun.
that is a passion of Scotty's. Like he
Mhm.
loves the local club and he loves learning about how other people are doing it. And I got to be on his live stream several months ago, and it was a lot of fun talking about the ETAA. That's something we hope to do on our live stream coming up sometime soon. As the dog growls, um, is we're hoping to get I'm calling them out with this, I guess. We're hoping to get the ETAA board members on so we can kind of talk about the beginnings of the
Mhm.
local our local club here in Knoxville, or in East Tennessee. We're in Knoxville, but we're not a Knoxville club. We're
Mhm.
East Tennessee. But yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun. And it'll even be more fun because a lot of those guys never get on YouTube. So it'll be fun to get them on. Now, Keeper Kane, I know a lot
Yes.
of you all have found Keeper Kane. I was going through, I'm behind on his videos, and I was going through and watching some stuff, and he's putting up some big numbers. A lot of people enjoying Keeper Kane's content. So that's really awesome. You ought to check it out if you haven't, especially if you're also into reptiles. And I'm sure there's other animals too. I don't want to say there's amphibians, but I know there's reptiles and fish. But Kane is on the board for the East Tennessee Aquatic Association, so he has already
Mhm.
said yes, he'll do it whenever we plan it.
Yeah, we had Kane on one of our early live
Yep,
streams. Um,
and it was
before
really
I think,
about. Oh, go ahead.
before I think he started doing the YouTube videos, and adding on to what you said, I enjoy his videos a lot. I
Yeah,
watched one earlier today. He's just, excuse me, he's just a very Kane is a very personable guy, and
yeah,
he's a great guy. I enjoy watching his videos.
yeah. I really do enjoy it. He's doing a live stream as well,
Hmm.
and unfortunately, it's at a time that I can't make most of the time. I can't make. I have popped in for a little bit. I mostly do the replay, and the ones that I've watched have been a replay. I'm not going to say that I've watched every one of his live streams yet, but I enjoy seeing what Kane's doing because I know from talking with him. You know, we talk a lot during the week. I know what he's got going on, but it's fun to see it. Although there was one night we were having our board meeting, and he was like, "I'm sorry, guys, I've got work I've got to do. I've got I'm here, I'm on an earbud, but I've got to work." He was building those stands, and so he was building in the background while we were having a meeting, and he'd stop to participate. But yeah, he's all the time got something going on, and that's really cool. So Liquid Rock Aquatics says, are the East Tennessee people part of the Tennessee fish tube mafia? All right, so oh, it is jumping on me. So yeah, the Tennessee fish mafia. I don't know if there's like an application or a ritual that we have to go through. But we're really good friends with Chattanooga Ed, and he
Yeah.
said that as far as he's concerned, we are members. I don't know what that means. We need to sign away or what we need to do. I'm sure there's some kind of form, but that's not taking place. I do consider us part of the Tennessee Fish Mafia. We are. I know I am. I think you are too. We're in that group on Facebook,
Yeah.
um, and yeah, I don't have my shirt yet though, or hat. It's a beautiful hat.
Uh, oh, Scotty Aquati is in the chat. Welcome, welcome.
Hello,
And
Scotty.
we've got Geek Boy as well. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, it's good to
So
see everybody. I
it
miss
is
this
good.
taking a couple weeks off.
It is good. Speaking of a couple weeks off, while we've got the chance at the beginning, what's been going on in your
Oh,
tanks in with
for
your
2 weeks.
aquariums for the last 2 weeks? We haven't. I'll do a little update as well.
Yeah. So, did I do the pop up live stream before our break?
Yes, you did that right
That was
after
right after
Christmas, I
Christmas.
think.
Yeah, so sometime
Yeah.
3 weeks ago, maybe, and then we had a live stream. So okay,
Mhm.
that tells me how far back to go. Don't go further. Don't go to that point. The tank's been doing well. I did buy a bunch of plants. That was our last live stream. I
Mhm.
surprised you all. We changed the topic and we went through and identified my plants. Pretty sure we got those accurate too. By the way, the plants are doing well. You can see the
Yeah.
Scarlet Temple there. It's not got a lot of growth. I know I was talking with you, Tanner, not, I guess, right after I put them in. I was like, okay, I've changed my lighting when I added them. I turned my light up and I was like, I think I'm going to start dosing extra, but you should tell me to wait so that I'm doing small changes over a period of time. And you were like, you should do small changes over a period of time. I was like, yes, but I feel like I ought to go ahead and do it. And I'm kind of just trying to get your approval on that. And you were like, I mean, you do what you want, but I think you should practice what you preach. And so I haven't done it yet.
I
I only turned up the light, no new algae.
That's
So
great.
things are going
I
well
think
there.
that was one of those moments where if I were you, I would have probably gone ahead and started dosing more. But it's
Yeah,
more of a do as I say, not as I do moment
exactly.
because
Yep.
I was wanting to say it, but I was like, I don't want him to be like, hey, you told me to start dosing more. Now I've got algae everywhere.
No, I wouldn't put that on you. I knew better myself. Um, small changes. I totally believe that small changes over time. The 75 doesn't look like what I want it to be right now, and I've not been able to do the things that I've wanted to do with it yet. That piece of wood is still floating, and I've got to put a game plan together for that. And I just haven't had time with the family and everything. Trying to get
Mhm.
a almost 4 foot two pieces of wood into that tank and weighed down either by bolting it or adhering it or however I decide to do it. It's a big task because all the plants will have to come up again, or at least most of them. And so yeah, the new plant's doing pretty good. I still haven't got the dwarf sag back in the tank because I really don't think I'm going to put it where it was, and I don't really know where to put it until I get the wood in there. Um, yeah, the valve's looking good, and it's bounced back
It
too because it
is.
had. it had melted back a little bit.
Yeah, I
Um,
remember it was a lot more sparse the
yep,
last time I've, especially on the side view. I think the last time I saw the tank was right after you had
yep.
uh, rescaped it, and it's looking like the plant growth is looking really nice. I
Yeah,
gotta say.
everything's bouncing back. I actually recorded a video on Monday that I hope to get out by this weekend. Where it's not an update video. I know I've done a few of those. It's not an update on the plants or anything, but they're in the shot, so you can see kind of the growth. But it's more along the lines of if you see this little orange dot in that valve, that is a swordtail fry. And so I was more so getting some footage, some B roll of my swordtail fry because we're going to talk
Awesome.
about those a little bit. Loving those guys. Okay, so there's that. I real quickly because I want to get to your update too because I actually need to catch up with you and I don't know what's going on with your
Yes.
room either. I've got I shared a few weeks back about being part of the Amazon Vine program, and every now and then they recommend something for me to try, and so they sent me. Let's see if I can get it out without breaking something. They sent me one of these. So here's the thing, and you and I have talked about this. Um,
Hmm.
it is a company called, not sponsored, or not by them, by Amazon. It is sponsored to a degree. Um, the company is Wyin, Wyin. So yeah, it's one of those Amazon, one of those companies that's selling on Amazon. I don't know anything about it yet. I've obviously it's sitting here in my hand. I literally got it today, and I was talking with you. I'm going to set up the old 10-gallon
Hmm.
and try to put CO2 on it and see if I can gas that thing with this. I am not putting it on the 75 or the
Yeah.
25 until I've played with it and tested it because nobody has reviewed these yet. They're brand new. It's something that's just being released and who knows if it's who knows what it is. But
Yeah.
I am going to play around with some CO2, so that's coming up.
Yeah. I'm excited for you to do that. More than likely, that's just a rebranded, you know,
Yeah,
regulator, but who know that at the same time you don't know what quality it is. I actually just looked it up, and there's basically no reviews that I
there are
could
none.
find on. I think let's see, it doesn't even come up as the first
No,
search. The
not the
F
first
zone
product.
and the UNS comes up. I found
Yep.
AliExpress has a couple reviews.
Oh, on this?
Yes.
Okay, I'll have to look
Um,
that up. I have only looked on Amazon, and it's like $55 on Amazon. So I mean, that's not the cheapest one I've ever seen, which gives me a little bit of hope that it won't. And I'm not going to have anything in the 10-gallon but some plants. I'm just going to put
mhm.
some plants in the 10-gallon, set it up, put a tank on it, and like I said, see if I can gas it or if it operates correctly, in which case I could recommend it then. I guess I'll give it a review. I don't know that I would have to use it for a while before I would recommend it because
Yeah, that's
I
the
know how
thing.
easy it is.
It looks like it's a dual stage, which is good.
It
So
is.
so it should prevent one of the biggest things with cheap regulators that I would watch out for is the um
Solenoid?
what do you call it, CO2 dump at the end of a when a tank begins to empty itself out. Some of the single stage regulators or cheaper regulators can,
Yeah.
when that pressure drops, it just dumps the rest of the CO2 at once.
Okay.
Um, so in my mind, and we can talk about this offline as well, but I would use it through a full tank, a full CO2 tank.
Right.
And then I would still probably be cautious because
It's
have
not it's not
I
going on
have
there
had a
anytime soon.
I have had a regulator fail, and luckily I got home right after it did, but
Yeah.
I lost some fish. So it,
Yeah.
it, it wasn't fun. But
Well,
yeah,
and
like
this company has a because I was going through and looking at what they did have. They have a DIY canister where you do the DIY method, but you put it in a canister, much like a CO2 tank, a pressurized tank,
yeah,
and which just sounds like a horrible way to do things because you're spending most of the money of pressurized CO2, and you're still going to spend all of the money of the DIY. And the DIY is more expensive over time than doing pressurized. I mean, everybody's, a lot of people don't jump into pressurized because they're afraid of it,
Hmm.
but money wise, it's cheaper in not that long of a period of time.
In the long run, it is cheaper. I equate it to, I think I told you this, like a propane tank. You got to
Yeah.
buy the tank at first, but then afterwards the refills are cheap.
Yeah.
You go to a welding supply store, they typically switch the tank.
Right.
Or if you have a local aquarium store who fills tanks, you can keep that tank and refill it. But it's got the highest front end cost, but pressurized CO2 is definitely the most stable. Because with DIY, it's a lot more finicky, and you got to dial it in because it is a chemical reaction. There's different
Right.
temperatures and reaction rates that can vary. If you have fluctuating CO2, that's going to lead to
It can be
algae.
just as big of a problem. Yeah. And
Yes.
low CO2, or we're not even going to say low, we'll say normal CO2 in a tank is better than fluctuating CO2, because
Yes.
fluctuating CO2 will cause algae,
It's
and normal CO2 probably not a factor. It's just your plants aren't going to grow as quickly.
yeah, and then it's all about CO2 lighting any of its stability at the end of the
Yep.
day. Your pH might not be ideal pH, but if as long as it's not fluctuating like crazy, you're
Yes.
fine. Unless you're
I see
keeping a
it.
very sensitive, species.
Yeah, and those are rarer than I think the hobby really realizes. Those species that need
Hmm.
those, and I'm seeing that a lot. It's something that I'm actually writing, like a video. I'm writing a topic, working on it because I see it a lot. I'm involved in a couple of um, really just Facebook groups now that I'm involved in. There's not really a lot of forums that I'm watching because the groups are keeping me pretty busy, but I'm in a couple of groups where I'm seeing almost daily people coming in and like, my pH is this. What do I need to use to get it here? And it's like,
Hmm.
no, don't do that. No, that is
Yeah.
just asking. Like, that is expert level. You're beginner level. You don't want that. Like, a lot of experts don't want that, but maybe they're trying to keep a species that does require it. That's
Hmm.
expert level. Don't do it. Don't
Yeah.
even try it.
Most of the species, like some of your wild type bettas that require that real low pH, a normal hobbyist that's just getting into it is not going to keep that. I
Yes.
know few people who do keep that successfully, but because it can be a lot of work, but also it's just there's no need to chase parameters, especially because most of the fish you will buy are,
Mhm.
with some exceptions, are not going to be wild caught. They're going to
Right.
be tank bred, and so they're more acclimated to your municipal water. They're not coming, but with the exception, some things like autocinklus, some core, some fish are definitely wild caught, but the
Yeah.
majority are not going to be in fresh water. Saltwater is a different story, but Mitch and I aren't in the saltwater game
Right.
yet.
Right. Yet. Yeah, most of the fish in our hobby are actually tank bred. There's not nearly as much wild as people think. I know for a long time, I was always like, well, how do I find out if a fish is wild? And it's really, there's some species that can be wild. And if they are, typically where you get them can find out where they came from. Like, they know where
Mhm.
they came from. So you can find that out. But, autos, just
Yeah.
assume they are wild. But even then, they're still very good at dealing with the general parameters that we keep our
Hmm.
aquariums. I think with autos and a lot of other fish, one of the major reasons why we have trouble with them, like autos are hardy. I mean, they're a wild caught fish that get shipped all over the world and put in tanks all over the world, and they do
Hmm.
well. So they're hardy fish, but they've got a reputation online of being really sensitive. And really, what it is because of the reputation and because people know they're from the wild, people tend to worry a little too much and try to do too much. And a lot of times we just kill them by doing too much. And the key is, when you find autos, make sure they're already fat. If they're not, if they're sunken in, don't buy them. Don't spend your money on
Hmm.
autos that have sunken
Yeah,
in bellies.
that's one of the biggest issues is just lacking a food source, and they're
Yep.
weak to begin with. And last thing I'll say on this topic is if you go to a store and they cannot tell you where that fish is from, where they got that fish from, I would think carefully about purchasing that
Yeah.
said fish, just because any reputable store should know. Oh yeah, we got these fish in from X wholesaler. They get their fish from here. Just that's just
Yes.
good business practice. But that's a whole nother topic. I guess I'll get into my update of
Let's
what's
hear
been
it.
going on. Let's see. I guess the first live stream we canceled, I actually ended up with the flu, so that was not fun. That knocked me out for about a week.
Oof,
So
that's rough.
didn't do much. That was the first time I've had the flu since I was a kid, and I forgot how much the flu sucked. And also, I'm a baby when I get
Yeah.
sick. I'm gonna lay in bed and complain. But besides that, what's been happening? Oh, I went to the last ETAA meeting, which was fantastic. I missed
And I
Mitch
wasn't
there,
there.
unfortunately. Um, but got to see a lot of folks in East Tennessee I have not seen for a while. Saw Sean, I mean, just tons of people. I got to meet Dave finally. Dave with Basement Aquatics, Dave
Yeah.
Broussard. Great meeting him. I got some credences from him. Um,
Oh, cool.
so they're doing fantastic. He was kind enough. I only have one female, and I've got about four males from a batch of fry that I bought at a swap. So he was kind enough to give me some more cribs to hopefully get some more females.
Hmm.
Um, I've got there's only one male. There's only one pair together. The rest of the males are on their own, but I want to pair up more of them. And then what else? Oh, I've got my first epistogramma. Got
And
those.
that was the topic of this meeting, the
Yes,
January meeting.
and I got them from the speaker of the
Oh,
meeting,
cool.
Curtis. So that was great. I got some fry from him. They're currently in with my Corridor Schultze fry, my Venezuelan quarries. So I'm fun now, or not fun, but those are fun now. Very cool seeing them grow up. And what I'm trying to think, what else has happened in the tanks? Did a bit of an overhaul in the 40 gallon that y'all have probably seen the most pictures of. Ended up taking out all the stem plants and replanting the tops. So that took about a full day to do.
Yeah.
But I think that,
You got
what else have I?
the stir by Corys.
I did. I got some stir by quarries. A new store opened up near me. Ran by some great folks and got some stir by quarries. They're doing very well. Um, no breeding yet, but I'm trying to still fatten them up and get them used to being in my tank. So
Mhm.
hopefully that'll happen soon. And what else has happened? I think that's basically covered it.
Yeah, I'm excited about you having the stir by corridor. I was like,
I
hey, when they get going, keep me in mind.
Yes, they're beautiful. I have not
Yes.
had them before. That's been one of my wish list Corys, and they're common enough that you see them frequently, but I've never found ones that I would be willing to buy that have looked healthy enough for me.
I don't know
So,
what it is about them, but every time I see them, they're just tiny and sickly looking from every store I've seen
mhm.
them at. So, except one of my local stores has some that they get every now and then that are tank raised from our area, and those always look good. But I'm never ready for them when they have those.
Yeah, I've kind of gotten to the point where I'm pretty picky. I'm not. I've
Yeah,
finally, I think, gotten out of the point where I'm impulse buying fish. I'll see fish that I've been wanting for a
yeah,
while, but if they aren't, if they have anything wrong with them, I'm like, it's
yeah,
not worth it. Just
yeah.
because I've started to get so many different fish, and I don't have a full quarantine system. I've got
Right.
a
A
semi
bucket.
one, but it's not ideal. Oh, and
Right.
one other fish I have added to the tanks is Heterandia Heterandia formosa, the least killifish.
Oh yeah.
I am. loving those. They're apparently one of the smallest live
Yes.
bears, and it's really cool. They have one. The females will have one baby a day
Yeah.
when they're um, having the babies. It's just they're very cool fish, cool nano fish.
Did you get those from Curtis too? I know he
I
has a lot of
did.
those.
I
Okay.
went when I went by to get the apistos. I
One
was
of these
looking at.
days,
I was
everybody's going to get
looking.
to meet Curtis on here.
Yes, Curtis is just a wealth of knowledge, and honestly, he's a really great for the hobby because I
Yeah.
was looking at stuff and he was like, "Hey, do you want this?" And I'm like,
Yeah. Take it. Yep.
Yeah, are you sure?" And
Yeah.
he's like, "Just take it."
He's the
Um,
most generous person I've ever
mhm.
met in the hobby. I mean, he's all the time like, "Hey, Mitch, you need this. Hey, Mitch, you know." And anytime I've been over there, I feel like I've walked out with stuff. So, just great, great guy. Hey, I wanted to say hi to tongue tied, Fish Frenzy Addiction. I saw you saying hi in here, and Lady Rorschach is gone, but I'm going to say hi, and Regina Phalanges.
Welcome, welcome. Have not been doing a good job keeping up with the chat, but
It happens.
it
We
does happen.
The I saw someone, and I don't know. I think it was TJ, and I could be wrong, but I saw someone ask if I would show off the whole 75, and maybe when we get done, I'll run over there. And of course, the lights will be out, so I turn the lights back on. But it's not. I mean, it is just right over there, but setting that up and changing it and everything's not all that easy. Crypt Keeper Aquatics, you guys are doing a great job organizing the fish rooms. Hey, this is what you do in a fish room. You sit around and you talk about your fish room. You don't do anything in it.
Yeah, we can talk about organizing all day. I will
Yeah.
say I have actually I talked the Monday before I came down with the flu. I did a full organizing on my shelf,
Yeah,
and
I
I woke
remember.
up the next morning and I was like, "Man, I'm sore. What is going on?" I was like, "There's no way I'm this sore from just organizing stuff." Well, ended up with a flu, and then things got unorganized again.
Yeah.
But this past weekend, I did go through. It was painful. I went through all of my aquarium stuff
Hmm.
and I purged,
Ooh,
and it hurt because I was like, you know what, I might use this one day, but then I had to think. I was like, is that day going to be within the next year?
yeah. There's a lot of truth to that. I mean, a lot of times we keep stuff. I keep stuff um, that I think, ooh, I may use that one day, and uh, yeah, it just creates more problems, and a lot of the problems that I have stem from that mentality. I'm with
Mhm.
you. So that's probably our number one tip on that is get rid of the stuff you don't need for in the foreseeable future. Like if it's a project, if you've got a piece of driftwood in a bucket trying to soak it so it'll sink, that's something you keep because you've got plans for it.
Yeah.
But if you've got like an entire wall full of driftwood, maybe it's time to share the wealth.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that. Good thing about driftwood and rocks is if you've got is you can just stick them outside, unless you're Mitch, and then their dog will make use of them. But yeah, it was not fun going through everything and cleaning it out.
He
There
was
was a
just helping
lot.
out. He wanted to make sure my tank was cycled.
Cycling the rocks.
Yeah, make sure the
There
rocks
was
were cycled with some ammonia.
there was quite a bit of scrap airline tubing and hose that was in sections that was like 6 inches or a foot, and I'm like, yeah, just you got to get rid of it because I'm not gonna. I have a whole roll of it. I'm not gonna use the little scraps that
Yeah.
aren't long enough, but we can if y'all have any organization tips, go
Yeah.
ahead and
So
drop them in the chat.
let me add this, and I will say, the thought process behind this live stream, it was totally different than where we ended up because it was a call out for help. It was not we have solutions. It was, oh no, this is a mess. What should we do? And and I should have checked the email. I actually think Basement Aquatics Dave several weeks ago when I first put something out there sent me a tip. And now that it's been several weeks ago, several weeks later, I don't have it in front of me. So at some point, I'll pull that email up and take a look at it. Um, but yeah, it's one of those things. Stephen P said it earlier in the chat. It's something that we all can relate to. It's something we all go through. We have a hard time doing. I know there are some people out there who just have that mental capacity to always put something back where it goes, or to sit there and organize something in a way that you can keep it there.
Hmm.
But you people are a mystery to me, and I don't understand you or have absolutely any concept of how that might work, because I just struggle to make sure I look at where I set something so I remember where it is when I need it,
I'm
let alone put
definitely
it in the same place.
I'm definitely the type that's the out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
So I've tried to use that as far as my organization, and I'll do this thing. It's most of y'all probably think it's silly, but in my mind, when I have something in my hand, I try to repeat to myself, "Don't put it down, put it away. Don't put
Oh,
it
that's
down,
that's good.
put it away." Because if I
Yeah.
put it down, it's going to sit there and it's not going to get put away because I'm going to
Yeah.
pick something else up.
Yeah.
So from that, when I was organizing my shelf, I had these little containers that I purposefully got because they were see through. I could see everything in there, and I've tried to organize everything in a way that items that I won't be using for, that aren't my daily or weekly items that I use, those go on the back of the shelf.
Yeah.
Everything like dechlorinator, fertilizers, um, things that I will use during regular maintenance go in a clear container on the front of the shelf to where I can see them. I
Yeah.
know they're there, and I know that that's where they go back. But it's still a struggle to put them back.
Yeah. Yeah. I so I mainly utilize the space underneath the 75. That's like the main spot, right? That's the most convenient spot to keep things. It's the place where it's not in anybody else's way and nobody's going to stumble across it. Nobody's going to use it to go catch butterflies outside, right? It's not out where it's easy access for somebody to make use of it. But I also have a spot in the garage that's designated for the aquarium stuff. The only problem is it always grows over time, and I don't realize it. Like, I don't know how it happens. It like sneaks out and works its way around the garage until my wife sees it, and then she points it out to me, and I'm like, how did that happen? And it happens like that on a regular basis, and I have to go around and collect things and put it back up. And it's just one of those things, like, when, for me and for all of us, we have time, like, often your regular water change doesn't happen, right? I haven't gotten to it yet this week. I didn't get to it
Mhm.
Sunday. I wasn't able to get to it last night, and it's almost 10 o'clock. Probably not going to get to it tonight. So my regular water change, when I do it, it's going to be like this fire brigade type thing where I'm going to do it real quick and try to get it wrapped up before I have to do something else. And then everything needs to dry, so it can't really be put up. It needs to be sat out to dry. And all that's going to happen so quick that it's not going to get put up, it's going to get put out. And then
Mhm.
I'm going to have to remember to go through and do that. So I think one tip that I have from myself is stick to regular maintenance. Try my best to set aside that regular time and do it then. And you know what? My tank can go. The dog needs to be let back in. The tank can go an extra week, really, on the water change. It's fine. I checked the parameters yesterday, and it was good because I was like, oh, I'm not going to get to it tonight. I'm just going to look at it just to see what it's doing, and everything's great. Nothing, no problems. But I like to add those nutrients. I like to
Mhm.
reset it and all of that. So I like the regular water change. I'm gonna throw it to you for a moment while I run over here and get the dog.
Yeah, I'm gonna check back in with the chat real quick. Got some tips that people are saying. Let's see here. The Zen Ginger says decide if you want all of your stuff in one place or all of your stuff with each tank and label. She puts
Mm,
all of their stuff in bins, and when they need something, they remember which bin it is in. That's a good. I definitely subscribe to the sectioning out
yeah,
items. I have my, like we talked about a couple live streams ago. Many, it feels like forever ago, but you got your daily, your weekly, your monthly, and then your say annually. I've got
Yeah.
my dechlorinator, everything for my water changes, my fertilizers, root tabs, all of that stuff in one box that's going to be used, weekly, monthly, and then things like filter floss, what else? Medications, things like that I don't really pull out much. They kind of go to the back to where I know that they're there. It's more so
Yeah.
an item that I know I need to use it, so
Right.
I'm gonna find it. But items that I don't ha- I
Items
lost my
that you
train
don't
of
use
thought.
regularly, items that you know you'll
Yeah,
need, but they're not used on a regular basis.
items that aren't used on a regular basis, but when I need to use them, I'm like, oh, I know where that is because it's in that one spot.
Yeah.
And it looks like Liquid Rock says totes and labels. Use the labels. I
Yeah.
agree
That's
with
good.
that.
Yeah, so my setup underneath the 75, I've got a large clear tote that is on the right hand side, and that has a lot of various cleaning supplies and things that I wouldn't necessarily use on a regular basis. It has my liquid test kits that I haven't gotten out in a while, honestly. Although I do need to check my pH because my things are going crazy with my pH. My pH is changing this year, and I've got I've got filter material in there that I might use that I might stick in the tank, air hose or airline,
Mhm.
and extra air stones, things like that. Things that I want to have nearby for when, oh no, I got to do this, and oh no, I need that. That's and it's nearby. Because I've had that happen where you got to drop everything, got to take an airline and tie it up so that it doesn't hang down and start draining the tank or something. It's a whole lot easier when you have that nearby, in my opinion. But we did call this fish rooms. Organizing our fish rooms, and like Tanner said, he doesn't have a fish room. He's got multiple rooms with fish tanks. I still only have the two tanks in the house. So when I say fish room, I really just mean my fish supplies. Um, on top of that tote, and I really don't like the tote. That's one of the things I'm trying to figure out. I want to find something with drawers that go underneath
Mhm.
that tank, that goes underneath that tank, because I
I
think
don't.
I can organize that a little bit better. One of those
I don't.
plastic.
Yeah, I don't know how much space you have, but I think Liquid Rock mentioned it earlier, and I think you can get those. Yeah, those.
Yep.
But you can also get them that are, oh, what's the word? Like Legos. They go to one shelf. The shelves are removable, so
Yeah.
you can add more or less. That might be a good option.
Yeah. What I've run into is there's not a good size that I've seen to fit underneath the 75 stand. It's either too small or too big. Like it's so small that it wouldn't be handy, wouldn't be
Mm.
useful, or it's so big I couldn't get it in there. So it's just about finding the right system that will work. That's going to be the key there. And but that was one thing that I want to do. I do have. Let me pull back to this. I do have something similar to this that you were talking about your normal use items.
Mm-hmm.
I have two of these sitting inside one another, so that it actually creates like compartments. But all of my dechlorinator and fertilizer and root tabs, fertilizer tools, like my tweezers, whatever you want to call them. You know what I'm saying, for planting, plant
Yeah.
tweezers. Those and scissors and stuff like that. That's all in there. Um, I've actually got some stuff that needs to come out of there because the DIY CO2 stuff's still in there. So not the chemical stuff, but the checker and all of that still. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not using that right now, so I need to put that up. It doesn't need to be there. That's in the way. And things for cleaning, for scraping algae, things like that. All of that stuff, and my strips, my test strips, they're in there too. But that's easy access. I just pull that out and I've got it. And I also use this for my food. I have an old refrigerator in my garage, and all of my fish food goes in that refrigerator. Well, I've got one in the refrigerator, one in the freezer. So what I found works for me is I buy the larger things of food, not the gigantic ones, because that's too much for me. I'll never get through that. But the larger ones, I don't know how big they are. It's several ounces, and I keep them in my freezer and then I have a smaller bottle in my refrigerator. And when I'm done with that, I just get some from the freezer and put. And it seems to be working good. It still stinks whenever I open it, so I think it's still nutritious. I've asked several people, and everybody's been like, "Yeah, it sounds like a good way of doing it." Um, but I keep all of that in one of these so that when I go to feed, because I feed a variety of things, I just pull that out and bring it with me. And I have all the foods that I feed in small containers in that. So that allows me to keep that organized for the most part. One way that falls apart is when I don't grab the whole thing, and then it becomes more convenient to sit the food in the house refrigerator, and then it's on the shelf for the kids to push to the back when they get their Kool-Aid or whatever,
Mhm.
and I lose it for a while.
Yeah.
That's never happened. That's a lie. It
One
has.
thing, another thing that I've found that has been advantageous for me is I use one of those wire racks for storage and to put smaller tanks on. And I found that your aquascaping tools, your forceps, your all of those tools will fit and sit on the wires on the rack. So I
Okay.
use one spot next to a 10 gallon that has all my tools, and they go back there and they hang so they dry off and they won't rust, which is
Yeah.
nice. And it looks like this is a comment from earlier in the chat, but Stephen P says that they use exactly that method. I think it's referring to the don't put it down, put it away method,
Yeah.
which I really like when I can stick with it.
You know, I'm older than 30, and I think this is the first time I've ever heard that.
I forgot
That's good
where
advice.
I
That's
saw
like
it.
life-changing advice, I believe.
It's not. It is not from. I didn't come up with it. I saw it somewhere
Yeah.
and I can't remember. But I use it when I'm cleaning like the apartment. Say if I pick because I'm the type that I will start 50 different cleaning tasks and
Yeah.
then end up everything's a mess and nothing's cleaned. So
Yeah.
I will literally walk around and go, don't put it down, put it away. Don't put it down,
Okay.
put it away. And it works, but you just have to stick to it. And then keeping says they must be doing something wrong. Their stuff takes up only two shelves on a long cabinet with extra room. They've had equipment cut out lately. I will say you might be doing something wrong because I don't know what it is, but every Aquarius that I've talked to hoards equipment. I have
Yeah.
got I've got a protein skimmer for saltwater tanks. I've had it for 3 years. I've never used it, but I got it for free, so I'm not gonna get rid of it. I've got extra pumps. I've got stuff that I probably won't use until I
Aqua
move.
clears and extra propellers and
It's there's one thing equipment I don't know what it is, but I'm like, no, I could use my pump goes out. I need an extra, but do I need
yeah.
five extra?
No.
But if I get them for free or cheap, I kind of need them.
Yeah. Regina Phalange says, "My dad always said a disorganized desk signifies an organized mind. I live by that motto." I've heard that too. I don't think I have a very organized mind, though. So my disorganized desk tells me otherwise. I am definitely not the example of that. I've got a very sporadic ADHD mind. I've lived with it all my life. Sometimes it can be an asset, and sometimes not. Um, Liquid Rock says my stuff looks like a mess, but it's an organized mess.
I'm generally of the type that it is disorganized to the average person, but I
Yeah,
can tell
I
you
know
where
it. Yeah,
everything is.
I'm not that way. I'm like, I've got one of these somewhere. I'll just have to go find it. Give me a minute. I'll be
One
right
thing,
back.
real quick, while it's on my mind, those of you in the chat say yes, respond. However, how many of you right now have something sitting on top of a tank? I'll raise my hand.
Let's see. It's back there. I think. What is that? Oh,
I think I
Easy
could see
Green.
if. Yep, I
There's a
could see
bottle of Easy Green
it. I've
right
got
there.
I've got a plant sitting on top of a tank, and I've got
Yeah.
food.
Well, that's the other thing. I've got the Buse, the immersed Buse is sitting over there too because I leave it next to the light during the day. Um, but yeah, so I've got the one container. I've got the little system on top, and then in the middle is a tote that was housing the DIY CO2, and now it's just empty bottles and lines and stuff. So that could come out and make room for stuff because I don't think I'm going to use that again. I keep thinking maybe I will, but it's just so much a hassle. I don't think I am. And then to the left of that, I do have a small canister filter on the 75 that I use for polishing the water. And so that takes up most of the space. It's hard to fit anything else. I have a few things laying around on the left hand side, but not a lot. Another thing that I want to add to this my setup are
Hmm.
something like these hooks, because you're not having to put a nail or a screw into your stand. I mean, if I had a real wood stand, I probably would put screws in it. But I do have one of those stands that when I got it, I was like, when I was thinking about getting the 75, I was like, I'll probably build a stand for it. And then I got it and was excited about putting it up, and it went on the stand. And now I'm like, how would I ever get that off that stand? Because the
Yeah,
stand has a lip that goes over it. It's like, what am I going to do with that? Anyway, these are adhesive. So this is a system. Now, I've never used this one in particular. I grabbed this because it was interesting to me, the picture, and actually one of the other pictures. And I thought about grabbing it, and I was like, no, I'm not going to. But they had one of these holding up a liter of water, and I was like, if it will hold a liter of water, that might be worth something to try. Um, that could just be fun. But
I
uh,
wouldn't trust it holding water.
yeah, but I've also thought about doing this because I've considered hatching baby brine shrimp. And having a hook like this inside the tank would be a place where I could hang a bottle to hatch baby
Yeah,
brine shrimp. Something like this. Maybe not
I'm
this,
just
but
I'm just thinking to hold a towel on your tank
right. Well, and
because
that's what. So I do have some hooks, and they're to hold nets. I have my nets hanging up underneath.
yeah, nets and towels you can never have enough. I don't know about y'all, but it is having an aquarium. It's you're gonna get water in the
Hmm.
floor. There's no. It is basically unavoidable. Um, but towels, I always keep on. I used to work at a store, so and we would always keep towels on our shoulders. So when I'm
Yeah,
working on tanks, I've got towels on my shoulders, and I just walk
yeah,
it's like I'm walking around working at a store.
yeah.
But having one of those dedicated by each tank would be fantastic. That's I might actually do that.
Hmm. Scuba Steve, why do we hoard stuff? It's like a disease. You never know when you'll use it, but usually once or twice a year, I go through my totes and toss some stuff. Yeah, I'd have tossed some things that I realized, there's no way I'm gonna. I don't
Mhm.
need that. Um, but so when I say I have a ton of stuff, it's really not a ton of stuff. It just takes up space. So I have all these buckets, and the buckets are extremely useful. But as they get used and they need to dry out, sometimes they get spread out and they need to be picked back up. And so that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. And then the nets, because you end up gathering a few nets over
Yeah.
time, and you use them, and you put them in the place where you need to clean those before you use them again. And so yeah, just stuff spread out. Not really. I'm not really saying I got a ton of stuff I don't use. I do have, like, I have some old aqua clears that if I needed to set them up in a pinch, I have them. Um, they do have a motor on them, so they'll pull water and circulate it. Um, which I'm just having a moment where I'm thinking maybe I could build a breeder box. Hmm.
You could do that. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. And who said the totes? Was it the last comment? Yeah, the last comment you had about the totes. I went through mine this past weekend. My totes. I had three totes.
Yeah.
I actually pared it down to one tote.
Yeah.
Some stuff I gave away. It didn't all go to the trash. I gave it away to people who could use it,
Yeah.
but a lot of it really was just junk that had no reason that I kept for I was like, oh, I'll repurpose that one day, and I tried.
Yeah.
and I went and plugged, a pump. Say I plugged it in. I was like, this doesn't even work. Why did I keep this?
Yeah, and keeping to keep keeping's point. I read it and then I didn't put it up, so I'm not going to go back and grab it. But talking about growing up broken and not having too many things, not having only having what you need,
Mhm.
and that's part of the problem for me is I don't know when I'll need it, and so if I get a hold of it, I will hold on to it.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm buying extra of stuff. Like Tanner said, you end up getting stuff gifted. You're like, hey, this DIY CO2, you ought to try to use it. And so I end up with it. Now it's in my garage, um, which I'll probably pass along to somebody when they decide they want to try it, and I can't convince them not to. But it is a good point. It is a problem. I don't know about the rest of you all, but where I live, I feel like there's more storage units being built than anything, and it just blows my mind. I don't know how many of y'all might have storage units, but that's something that's foreign to me. I can't
Yeah.
imagine paying to keep stuff that I don't use. I look at it as, oh, I could make some money off of that, as opposed to sitting on it. But there are things that I see value in keeping because there's a pretty good chance that I'll use it. So going back to your question, so I see Sean Simic says yes. I imagine that is to your question about things on top.
Had a
Liquid
couple
Rock
yeses.
Aquatics says me. Regina Phalanges lied. Regina Phalanges says not me. So Regina keeps a clean tank. Okay, respect that. Um,
It looks like everyone who answered has
yeah,
stuff on their tank. Stephen P uses tanks as countertops. I agree. I
yeah,
try not to just because it looks cluttered and then it bothers
yep,
me when I look at the tank. But I typically will keep whatever I feed that tank on top of that tank, unless it's,
yeah.
a frozen food. I have forgotten a cup of bloodworms or brine shrimp on top of a
I've
tank.
only done that
And
once.
I did that I think last week, and I came home after work the next day
Oh,
and I was like, that's not good.
yeah.
It was
Don't
not
feed that.
fun. No, I
Yeah.
threw it out, but it smelled horrendous.
So you read half of Stephen P's comment. He also says, "I'll
Oh,
balance stuff on the lights."
oh, I don't have
like if
lids.
like if
I
he's
don't
got
have
something that's topless.
I don't have lids on my tank, so everything sits on the lights.
Yeah, yeah. Master Aquatics, just call me Eduardo. Says I have plants, nets, and fish food. Um, and Liquid Rock says, "Oh, I didn't count lights though. I only have one net on top of a tank. Everything else is beside it on a shelf." But the point is, we all put something on our tanks. It
Yes.
happens. Lights are off on the 75. That's how we know it's time to end. Um, Trying to get through the chat as we do this. Keeping says I should make a short with my fish stand so y'all can have decluttering. Yes, do it. Um, but yeah, I totally understand the tight budget part. That's me as well. I only budget a little bit for my hobby, so uh, I'm very thankful for having a local club because it keeps me within my budget for sure. One other thing that I wanted to add was one of these, something to put your hoses on. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be this specifically, but how often is that an issue? Or I think we've probably all done it where we allowed a hose that didn't fully dry to sit for too long and you get the black growing inside it. And you can't scrub that stuff out no matter how hard you try. So it becomes an out only hose. So don't
Yes.
want to put that in the tank.
Yeah, I've definitely had hoses become. I I've tried to designate one hose as a filling the tank hose, and then one as
Yeah.
a water change only. Just because it can be difficult in the summertime. I keep the hose outside and let it dry off. But in the
Yes.
winter, like right now, it's too cold and it gets brittle. Um, So that's one thing that's kind of difficult. I don't know how many of y'all in the chat are in an apartment keeping
Mhm.
aquariums. You have to. I mean, basically, it takes up most of the apartment. but that's also because I have quite a few tanks.
Yeah. And another useful thing is some sort of clips to organize your
Hmm.
wiring. Yes, I've become a huge fan of the Velcro uh,
Yes.
ribbon that you can buy. You can get a huge piece of Velcro very cheap, and then you just wrap it on, and you've got that taken care of. But you could also use like rubber bands or zip ties. I've got zip ties in the garage that I use oftentimes on stuff too. But I like the Velcro because I can reuse it. And I originally got it for cords and stuff. To keep stuff organized, but it also works on fish equipment too.
Yeah, they also sell. I know Command Strip has it, but I know there's definitely other brands that are cheaper. But
Yeah.
it's got the Command Strip, the sticky part, but it's for threading. It's got a hook to hook cords onto. I
Hmm.
use that and we'll stick it on the back of a tank and run um, all my cords down on the backside, a corner of a tank, and that helps.
Yep.
Cord
That does help.
management would be its whole stream in itself because that
Yeah.
is
And
I
another
want
one,
someone to show me if they have all of their cords tidy because I don't think it's
oh,
possible.
I don't know. Another one that I think would be good is keeping things clean and sanitary. Um,
Hmm.
I feel like that's something that I've relaxed on some at some points in my hobby, and it can lead to disasters. So we need to go. There's other live streams that start at 10. Does anybody know if Eric's gone live yet? Eric Wyrock typically goes at 10. I don't know if he went last week or not. While we're saying our goodbyes, I do want to put this up and just let everybody know that if you're in the Nashville area, on February 4th, the Music City Aquarium Society will be meeting.
Yes.
So you can look that up over on Facebook and join that group if you're in that area. If that's a short or, a relatively short drive for you on a Saturday, go to Nashville and hang out with Tanner and some of those great people. Eric is live, is going
Oh,
next. So Eric's live right now. And also on the 11th, the ETAA will be meeting on. We'll be talking about freshwater plants. Cassandra Dominique will be doing that presentation. She did the live cultures presentation last year, and she's been on PecTech's channel talking about live cultures. She's also a plant genius, and I messed up, didn't get any plants on. She was actually going to do something else that I was looking forward to, and I had to go to her and be like, "Hey, can you do plants instead?" Because I made a mistake. And she was gracious enough to do it. So we're going to be talking about plants, and she's called this From Zero to Hero. Should be great. There's also a YouTube for the ETAA. So even if you're not local, you can check that out later once it goes up. Uh, you actually are meeting at a different location. Seven Seas Aquatics. Is that a store in Nashville?
yes. Real quick, a local store is letting us meet up at their location. Super excited about that. Hopefully, going to be able to support a local store. They're going to help support us. It's always great to keep these local stores going because they are hobbyists, supported solely by hobbyists.
Yeah.
And they were generous enough to host us, and they're going to show us around the store, and it should be fun. So if you're in the area, come check it out. If not, we probably won't be recording this meeting because we're in a different location, but we try to generally record our meetings. So if you're in the area, I hope to see you.
All right, awesome. All right, everybody. Just a reminder: Eric Wyrock is live on the Rock Pile, so you can go there and enjoy that chat. I'll probably try to hop in a little bit while I'm picking things up and decluttering the area that I use for the live stream. So, what was I going to say? I was just going to say thanks. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you next week with some topic. I'll let you know sometime between now and then. Enjoy your tanks. Oh, and thank you to the mods and everyone who was here. I didn't say thanks. Goodbye.